All right, well, here we are in study 16 of Colossians. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 4, verse 7 to 18. So we're going to finish the letter to the Colossians, and then God willing, the next time we meet, we'll have a summary conclusion as well. So today we're going to answer the questions in study 15, chapter 4, verse 2 to verse 6. So remember, what we're looking at here is the gospel at work in our lives. This is not a lesson in moralism. This is not to be subtracted from what we've been looking at already in Colossians. This is because of who we are in Christ and because of Christ's work in us. This is how we're called to be living. So keep that in your mind as we go. So question 1, we are to fill our lives with vigilant prayer and thanksgiving. Now, this is not an uncommon theme in the Paul's letters. So Romans chapter 12, verse 12, Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 to verse 7, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 18, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 17 to 18. Our prayer lives should be strong and vigilant and full of praise. And if they're not, we will find ourselves weak and we'll find ourselves debilitated as well. So this is a very important part of the Christian life is to pray. So that's question 1. Question 2, Paul asks that the Colossian believers would pray for him while he was in prison. Now, his prayer is notable. He asks that they would pray that God would give him the wisdom and courage to share the gospel in his current situation. Some other passages where Paul is asking for prayer: Romans 15, verse 30 to 32, Ephesians 6, verse 19 to 20, Philippians 1, 19, 1 Thessalonians 5, 25, Philemon 1, 22, and Hebrews 13, verse 18 to 19, if Paul wrote Hebrews. But what we're seeing is his prayer requests, and we learn through what he prays for, the sort of things that we should be praying for as well, what we should be asking for prayer. Now, he does want to leave prison. He says at the very end, the very last verse of this epistle, remember my chains. And he says in Philippians, and he says in Corinthians, that the prayers are going to lead to his deliverance, and he's thankful for that. But here he's praying something even bigger than being delivered, and that is that the gospel would go to those around him, that God would use the opportunity that he has to preach the gospel. Question 3 then, we are called to walk wisely in this world, to seize every opportunity and to make the most of it, to make the most of every situation that we are in, speaking with gentleness, wisdom, and respect to everyone, including those who mistreat us. Romans 12, verse 14 and verse 17 to 21, Ephesians 4, verse 29, and chapter 5, verse 15 to 16, 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 24 to 25, and 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. Quite a lot of readings today, but we're bringing Colossians to the end. So questions for study 16, chapter 4, verse 7 to 18. Paul is now at the end of the letter. He brings some greetings from those who are with him in chapter 4, verse 7 to 14, and sends some greetings to those with or near the Colossians, chapter 4, verse 15 to 17, and then he concludes it with verse 18. So 3 questions. Question 1, how does Paul emphasize a sense of love and unity in his greetings in chapter 4, verse 7 to 14? Question 2, what is Epaphras' desire for the Colossians, chapter 4, verse 12 to 13? And then final question, how does Paul begin and end the letter? God bless.